भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मद् आचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मय शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविर्म एधि वेदस्य महानिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेन अधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मावतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु अवतु मामवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गे स्तुष्टवाग्वं स्वस्तिभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिपृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव त्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणत्वं सर्वर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षतः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Narayan Narayan and welcome everyone. So we'll start with the chanting shlokas 1 to 17 in chapter 3 and then we'll revise the shloka 18. Okay? Ath tritiyo adhyayah Arjunavacha Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. So please read along with me so that the charan gets better for everyone. Thank you. Vyami shreneva vakye tadekam vad nischitya
yena shreyo hampatuvaya
samapniyam. Shri Bhagavanuvacha loke asmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta maya nava jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam na karmanam narambhat nashkarmyam purushoshnate na cha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhi gacchati na hi kaschit kshanamapi जातु तिष्ठत्य कर्मकृत् कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्मः सर्वः प्रकृतिर्जैर्गुणे कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इंद्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचार स उच्यते यस्त्वेन्द्रियाणि मनसा नियम्यारभते अर्जुन कर्मेन्द्रिय कर्मयोगं सक्त सविशिष्यते नियतं कुरु कर्म त्वं कर्मज्यायो ह्यकर्मणः शरीरयात्रा पिचते न प्रसिद्ध्येद कर्मणः यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणो अन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्मबन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसङ्गसमाचर सह यज्ञा प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाच प्रजापतिः अनेन प्रसविष्वध्वम् ईश्वोऽस्त्विष्टकामधुक् देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेय परमवाप्स्यथ इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवा दास्यन्ते यज्ञभावितः तैर्दत्तान् प्रदायेभ्यो यो भुङ्क्ते तेन एव सः यज्ञशिष्टशनाः सन्तो मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषे भुञ्जते ते त्वघं पापा ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात् अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्नसम्भवः यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञकर्मसमुद्भवः कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवं तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम् एवं प्रवृत्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयति यः अघायुरिन्द्रिया रामः मोघं पार्थ स जीवति यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते नैतस्य कृतेनार्थो न कृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थ व्यपाश्रयः. So the last one was Shlok 18 for this week. So I had talked about it in last class as well. From next class onwards, we will definitely create rosters. So I'll send that out right after this class. So I'll request you to take on a voluntary basis one person who will do the starting, the invocation and the ending shlokas, okay, and one person who will do the chanting of the chapter 3 shlokas, okay. So they are independent. One person can take the invocation shlokas and one person can take the chanting of chapter 3 shlokas, okay. So just volunteer yourself for each of the dates. I'll put out a roster and we'll keep increasing so that everyone gets a chance to practice. And invocation shlokas from now onwards, we will do it on a this kind of a round robin basis so that we all start to learn them. Okay. And same for chapter 3 until we get to the end. Yeah. So in the last class, so in the last class, we had learned to distinguish between three important terms. The first one was karma, second is akarm, and the third one was vikarm. So in a very, in a very small, brief manner, karma and akarm, they are both based on scriptures. They are both based on dharma. That means they are both based on our duties. Vikarm, on the other hand, is based on adharma. When you do stuff that is not your duty. So focusing on dharma and focusing on karma and akarm, they are both based on duties, but for karma, there is an additional factor. There is these actions are basically motivated by desire. They are motivated for kamna purti. We are trying to do them for fulfilling certain material desires. Secondly, there is a conceit of doership, right? So there is ego, ahankar involved. And there is always an attachment either to the action itself or to the end result. Okay, if we take out these two things, attachment to the end result or the action itself, we take out the conceit of doership, then the karma becomes akarma. Karma binds, akarma liberates. Every karma will sow seeds which will sprout into a result that we have to experience at a later point of time, in this life or in next life. Okay, and akarma on the other hand, they also sprout seeds, but those seeds are like roasted seeds, so there is no further sprouting of actions that need to happen, so you don't need to suffer or live through the results of those actions, whether they are good or bad. Okay, so in this class we will go into further details on these concepts. We'll learn deeper about them and we'll understand how to do action in inaction, and recognize action in inaction versus inaction in action. Right? We had learned these phrases in last class. So now we learn about them even deeper and learn how to practice them. Okay? So let's start the class. Thank you, Rashi, for joining the class. So we'll start with you today.
No. Okay. Which actually I just want to know which shloka we are.
Yes, so we are going to do Shloka 21, chapter 4, Shloka 21.
So sorry, I missed the so many classes from the last few days. Actually, it was my loss only.
Don't worry. Okay. We are done Shloka 20, right?
Suhina, I guess we have done till Shloka 18.
Yeah, I think it is Shloka.
Sorry,
We ended at Shloka 18 last week.
Sorry, yes, Shloka 18. Correct.
18. Yeah.
Thank you for correcting.
18.
No, no.
Yeah.
I was confused for a moment also.
I'm the one to blame because I was the one who told her we've done to 20. So,
Okay, so we'll start with Shloka 19. So Rashi, can you read the connection before Shloka 19?
Lays down an important postulated, right?
No, connection before Shlok 19. So after Shlok 18.
After
That's
shloka 18. Okay. In the next 5 shlokas, the Lord describes what a person should do be unaffected by actions by recognizing action in inaction and inaction in action.
Yasya sarve samarambhaha
Yasya sarve samarambhaha
काम संकल्प वर्जितः
काम संकल्प वर्जिताः
ज्ञानग्नि दग्ध कर्माणः
ज्ञानग्नि
दग्ध कर्माणः
दग्ध कर्माणः
तमाहु पंडितं बुधा
तमाहु पंडितं बुधा. One who embraces. Okay,
No,
sorry.
sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
So yasya is jiske, those who, or one who. Sarve, all actions. It's referring to actions. Samarambha, embarks on, starts, right? Embarks on. Kam, desire. Sankalp is motivations for desire. Varjitaha, without. Gyan ki agni is the fire of knowledge. Dagda, jal gaye, have burned. Karmanaha is karm, actions. Tamahu, that person. Panditaha is gyani, pandit, a person who really knows, sage. Buddhaha, gyani jansab, all intelligent people or all wise people. Okay. Let's see.
One who embarks on actions without the motivations of desire or of serving one's selfish purpose is said to have burned up one's action in the fire of true perception. and such a one is called a sage even by the wise. Burning action in the fire of true perception. The important words used in the shloka are explained below. So,
So before we go to those words, what's that? Okay. Um, it's important to understand that we are in the middle of the Karma Yogi sect, right? And in the Karma Yogi, as a Karma Yogi, which is what we would find the most relatable, we have to do action. We have all of us have roles to play, and as part of those roles, we have a duty that comes along with it. I cannot give up my role of being a father because I have a son. Until he is independent, I have to play that role, which means I have to be in conscious action to be able to do my duty. And I have to decipher, not for my son, but for me, what is my duty and where does that stop? And what is my son's duty that he's responsible for, right? Um, and for all of this, this is why this chapter becomes really important, because he's saying is we've talked a lot about action and inaction in the last class, where you can do action in a way that has no consequence. That is our goal. And the concept that we will get introduced to very soon is doing it with the yagya bhav. Yagya is essentially offering, right? So whatever action that you do, you're doing it as an offering to Bhagwanji. So you're giving up both the action and also the result of that action. So in this shloka and in the next shloka, when they say burning actions in the fire of true perception, that line essentially means is you giving up that action because you're not attached to that result. You're just giving it up by saying, this I'm doing Bhagwanji for Bhagwanji. You know, so we have a uh, we listened to this Swami who'd come in before COVID a couple of years ago, and he had shared a very good like a story which kind of stayed on, where he said every time you leave home to go to office, back then offices used to be a thing, but every time you leave home you go to office, before you step out of the house, just stop and say, Bhagwan ji, मैं जा रहा हूं आपके लिए,
आपके काम के लिए,
आपके काम के लिए. And every time you come back, you say, Bhagwan ji, मैं आ गया हूं आपके लिए. Right? Just that small state of mind that you are in, you're connecting your entire day's work with his divine energy for his divine purpose. And if you can bring that in every act, then you know for a fact that your action is resulting in no consequence for you. You're not generating any more karma for yourself. In fact, aage jaake wo log, they will explain that by acting in this manner, you burn all your past karma as well. Like it's written in this book, in this very next chapter. So we'll just read about, continue reading this.
okay. I think so it will take time to practice this also, right? Because it's a lot. So, right? The daily practice you are saying in that whatever we are doing, so like we are doing for the work for God only, right?
Yeah, so it's just so this is where the we keep saying, right, sadhana, satsang becomes very important. Swadhyay becomes very important because it's the world is so glamorous and it is
Right.
so many amazing distractions for our senses. We are bound to get
Absolutely.
distracted,
Correct.
which is why like a Saturday class is just the basic, but having that as an anchor is just something that reminds you, no, my purpose is something different. The world is glamorous, right? If you have that anchor on a daily basis, then that serves again as a very important anchor. You start your morning with that divinity or the thought of divinity in you, then that's what you start reflecting. That's what you start seeing around you, right?
Correct.
So we're now talking about these invocation shlokas, right? Like reciting them. Once I'll tell you my own experience. For the first year and a half, I would say the stuff that was easy to say because it was physical class. And what was difficult, I would not say. I would let other people in the class say it. First 2 years or whatever, I did it that way. Then everyone in the parivar became very serious about pronouncing it correctly.
Hmm.
So we did this roster thing, and there was recording that went around, and we practiced it for I think 6 to 8 months. We practiced the invocation shlokas for half an hour before class.
Mhm.
So it became a 2 hour class essentially. What is incredible is it's fully memorized in my mind.
Yeah, right. And this is your daily. Okay.
So even when I'm just walking or doing something, sometimes it just starts. And that's just if you read the meaning of those shlokas, it's just a way of you connecting with Bhagwanji, inviting him into your work, right? And that becomes very powerful because then you are connecting with him or being connected with this with divinity at all times. But of course, I'm still far behind.
I know it takes time because nowadays I'm learning that Karpanya dosha, so that one, right? So I'm learning. It takes times to learn it because, of course, the correct pronunciation is also very important to, right? So
Yeah.
let's see.
But thanks for that point, Abhinav. And what I have kind of what you're saying now to connection, have a connection with the God all the time and give it as an offering. So what I have read in another book is there is the only way we get the self-confidence because God is always with us, and plus humbleness, because we are here because of him. We are doing all his work, his energy we are taking. So that's what I just wanted to mention. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, your point about humility. Sorry, Bhaskar, you were saying something.
Abhinav, sorry, I don't know Hindi, so I missed the first part you said about when you leave house, what you have to say. And okay,
Yes.
I'm
I'm
sorry
so Athena, you want to translate? You'll be better.
So
Sorry about that, Bhaskar, and thank you for. Please
I
feel
just want
free
to.
please feel free to keep interrupting if you don't translate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it basically means that when you're leaving house, you're just invoking Lord and saying that, Lord, I'm leaving home to do your work with your energy. And then when you come back home, then you say that, Lord, I have come back home to you, right? So when you're leaving, you're not, you're not going out to do your work. You're going out to do his work, the duties that he's given to you. And pray for enough samarthya and shakti, enough tell him that you will provide me the resources and the energy and the clarity of thought to do your work correctly in the manner that makes you happy, right? So that is the purpose. When you start or invoke or start your actions with that bhav, with that feeling and with that reverence, then the way you'll approach your work is going to be very different than if you were doing it because you're doing it for somebody else
And
or anyone other than God.
And just compare that to how we typically leave home. We're leaving rushed. We are keeping tasks in mind. We're thinking about what we would like to achieve in the day. We're thinking, so we're so attached to everything that is going on. Just by changing that, every time you step out of the house, if you just say, I'm going out to do your work, and whatever happens after that is anyways his work. It's anyways his it's part of his maya, right? And it's important because when we get into that zone, we are in that rajoguni zone, right? Constantly work, activity. Now rajogun is good, right? Dynamism is good. It is absolutely important to get our work done, but we need to always make sure that rajogun and tamogun, it's very easy to slide from rajogun to tamogun very quickly. Okay, so having satogun and doesn't take too much time. 30 seconds of calmness and presence brings satogun back in order, and it starts to guide your day a little bit better.
And it doesn't have to be only at the start of the day. That's a great starting point. But ideally, you should use it until we reach the, we are all practitioners, right? We're trying to get there. So what do we need? We need practice. We need practice until this becomes muscle memory. And how do you develop muscle memory in sports or in martial arts? If you have to think before you act on sports field or in martial arts, you're dead, right? Like you won't be able to play at all. It has to be practiced well enough beforehand so that when you are out there on the field playing, then it's coming out of mental memory. That is how muscle memory, sorry. So that is where we need to go to. All this practice that we are doing, reading in the Gita class, is like, imagine in your sports session, you're going to a coach for one class where he's teaching you something. But that is not enough. We all know. We all have to go out there and practice. We get homework. We have to practice. The more we practice, the intensity of our practice will ensure how good a player we become on the field. So, and it all depends on us. The coach will teach, 20 people, and all of them will display varying levels of skill when they are out there on the field. And it is completely commensurate with the intensity and the effort each person puts in. And this is where Swadhyay becomes very important. And we have to keep doing it on a daily basis. And there are lots of different things you can do, right? But the most basic stuff that we always talk about is 10 minutes of reading on your own. Apart from that, you can do Nam Jap throughout the day. So I have a counter that helps me. Now, this is a physical thing, but it helps me remind myself the day I carry a counter versus the day I don't carry a counter with me on my person, because I'm not there yet. Just having that counter with me keeps reminding me to go back to chanting. And it helps me stay centered. So it's a way for me to constantly go back to Satogul when I go away from it. So I'll give you an example. I had a meeting last Thursday. Wednesday, I had set a meeting. This is an important meeting, which is now creating a bottleneck in a project that we are working on. So this was an extremely important meeting with a lot of different participants. So we had to get a lot of people to come in. And there was this one person who was really important. I got his time first, and then I arranged with everyone else. And like, okay, Thursday, we are meeting at 2:30 p.m. We get into the call. I start the call with everyone, and I'm like, okay, so this is the agenda. We are going to do this. And before the meeting started, I had invoked Bhagwanji and said that let your will be done in this class, right? So in the meeting, and like, just help us go through this. It's going to be a difficult meeting. Just blah blah blah. Finished it. And then what happened in the class, in the meeting, was right off the bat, this guy who's from another company, he starts off with saying, oh, I can't discuss any of these questions because I'm not sure if we have the right NDAs in place, and I cannot reveal all of these things. And it really, really, like, I immediately was like, what? Like, what kind of a guy is this, right? Like, what's wrong with him? Then I reminded him, it's like, first of all, he should have told this to us early in the morning, or like yesterday, or even in the morning when, so many people didn't have to come on the meeting to hear this one sentence. And I tried to remind him that, we've already got an NDA in place in January. I did all kinds of stuff. And then he says, you can try and convince me whatever way to, but, you will not convince me. This is the way has to be. It has to go back to our legal. Legal has to say whatever, and then only we can. I was really upset with that call. And anyway, we said, okay, let's set up another meeting. We set up something on Friday afternoon, evening, and we closed the call. And I was very upset. And because I had the counter in my hand, I immediately, like, after I think of being in like upset for like 10-15 minutes, I realized that, I invoked Lord and I said, may your will be done. And now his will was done, and I was upset. He did not want this meeting to go through for whatever reason. I don't understand why or what or how. But I got upset when my will of getting the stuff done did not actually get done, right? So just the fact that I had the counter in my hand, it immediately reminded me of what wrong I'm doing. When I reached that Satoguni said, this kind of a thing should never even happen. I should immediately be able to recognize. So I apologized to God and I said, I need more cleansing of my antakaran so that I can see your hand in every single situation, in every single person. I forgave that person, all the judgment I was holding towards this person. I left that. I apologized for holding that judgment. And then I immediately felt a burden of me. Now, when I did all of this, it's not for anybody else. I did it for myself. I realized how much that just that negativity that goes on in your mind, the anger, the anxiety, the upset, all it does is it bogs me down. It takes my energy away from doing the next duty that I need to do. It doesn't have any effect on anybody else. So I'm only hurting myself. The moment I invoke Lord and I let go of the negativity, the energy comes back to me to start focusing on, let's not focus on the past, let's not focus on the future, let's focus on what I need to do now. So it is, for me, it's an extremely essential productivity aid. So this is just an example of how Swadhyay, Nam Jap will help all of us in their own ways. So this is just one example of how it helps me considerably.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Let's continue reading,
Read.
Rashi.
Samarambha, embarking on action, initiating an action in pursuance of a duty based on ethical
Sanction, yes.
sanction, and for maintenance of life in accordance with one's station in life and in the society is called Samarambha. Karma Sankalp Varjit. Without the motivation of desire or of serving some selfish purpose. To wish for enjoyment of the world gives rise to desire, and a repeated rumination on them and thinking of the pleasures to be derived from them gives rise to selfish purpose. An action free of these motivation is called karma sankalpa varjit.
Yeah. So
Kam Sankalp Varjita. Kam, not Karma.
Kam sankalpa varjit. Yeah.
So this is important to note, right? That desires are always the starting point for you doing anything for your own selfish purpose. So like Tuvina's example, if you think about it, she was actually attached to a desire.
She's attached to an outcome
was attached
of
to-
moving something, even though it sounds very like, oh, I'm
Good
doing
for
this
the
for the
business,
project,
yeah.
good for the business. We really need to move things forward. So but I'm attached to the idea that, at the end of this meeting, we should get some work done to be able to move things forward. And I was attached to it. The fact that it did not happen in that time frame, I got really upset. It's like, what?
Correct.
Right?
So that's how subtle desire is, and that's how fluid it is. That you may think you're in. If this meeting went well, Tuvina may very well have given that example that I invoked Bhagwanji and his blessing, and that's why the meeting went really well. And that would have been a perfectly fine example as well, right? But this was, if you were to look at it, could also be Bhagwanji's test on Tuvina. Ki, bhaiya, are you really wanting to do my will, or do you want me to do only your will? Right? You can perceive it in so many different ways. But
also, these desires, it's easy to give up bigger desires, right? So now this project that I'm working on, I always invoke Lord when I'm working on this, and I always say that, it may or may not go to fruition. It's a very high risk project. It may see its end result, it may completely fall flat, and we would have like spent so much of resource, money, time, and everything for so many people. It's a very high risk project, right? So I always invoke and say, okay, whatever be God's will, it will get done. It may or may not see the light of the day. The results are with Lord, right? In this kind of an example, it's so easy to say, yes, yes, of course, I'm going to do this, right? Easy to give up these bigger ones. It is the subtler ones, the smaller ones that completely pass us by without us even realizing. And the most important thing is these desires, they come couched in the garb of duties. It feels justified to have those desires because we feel like we are doing this because of, we'll always have reasons behind those desires. And it's the subtler, smaller ones that are actually a bigger problem, because they are the ones that determine the quality of our day-to-day life. Like being upset about a meeting not going through, or because I felt like the other person was just being unfair or whatever, and then holding a grudge against him, being angry with him. And if I had not done the forgiveness exercise and had not completely altered my antakaran towards that person and towards the meeting, then the next day, the next meeting that would have come, 100% I would have been different. Like I perceived myself when I had my next meeting, I could clearly, palpatably perceive how my tone of voice and the way I would talk or the words I would use would alter if I were upset versus when I'm not upset. It comes through. We think we don't know, but all of that comes through. And 80% of the communication is quiet, like it is not the words we speak. And that's how our antarkaran then creates our external reality. Yeah.
Yeah. Gyanigni, fire of true perception, the perception of divinity which follows the
Culmination.
follows the culmination of any discipline or self-realization in here called Gyanigni. The discipline of Karma Yoga leads of true perception of the infinite. In Karma Yoga, all duties are performed meticulously and the action don't sprout in the fresh obligation as they become like roasted seeds. Therefore, an aspirant pursuing the discipline of Karma Yoga is deemed to be a sect even by the wise.
So in this, I just want to make it very clear. In this shloka, what's being said in point number 1 is only engage in those actions which are your duty. So we don't, and we should be careful about that. What is our duty? What is our purpose in engaging in a particular action? What and how it appeals to our own in its nature itself. Second is, even when you perform that particular action, do not have a desire for that action, that act itself, or for its result. So if I am playing the role of a father, I am playing a role. My role stops at me playing my role. Who Vedant will be, who he chooses to be, how he will behave with me is is going to be his life choices, right? So I should not be attached to that outcome. Of course, if he's so small, he's 5 years old, if his behavior goes here and there, it is our responsibility to discipline him. It is our responsibility to coach him. It's our responsibility to train him. I'm not going to hide away from that. But at the same time, if when he grows big and he does not call us and he does not like keep in touch, and then I get upset, he's not called me for 2 weeks, that is me being attached. Right? So there is that subtle difference that do your duty for without any expectation and desire of anything back from that particular action. And the third is, when you do things with these two aspects in mind, then the perception of divinity will follow, because you're doing it for Bhagwanji. And that is what is defined as the perception of divinity, or the fire of true perception, that you're giving up and you're burning all of your actions in the true perception, the fire of true perception.
And I'm going to go back to the example that Abhinav gave. I'm going to draw your attention towards getting subtler about and recognizing subtler ways that desire perceives comes into our life. Because I think we've talked a lot about these, macro pictures. Now we need to get very microscopic about our lives. We are all getting there now. So in the example that Abhinav gave about, child and parent relationship and us giving up the desire, like the desire of them taking care of us, or being there for us because we've taken care of the kids, those are macro desires, right? Easy to understand, and I think at this stage all of us would understand them quite well. Let's take it to a subtler level. How will your desire with a child, right? When you are trying to discipline them, okay, you're trying to coach them. If you have it's very easy for that desire to come in, that I am telling him that this is the right thing to do, now he must do that. If he doesn't do it, I get angry, right? Where does that anger come from? It's important to analyze where that anger comes from. There are moments when anger as a tool is important to to discipline. Observe yourself when you're using that tool. Are you using that tool to actually discipline the kid? Because it is an important and effective tool in that moment to get the child to do the right thing. But if it is if you're using it only as a tool for the welfare of the child, with his welfare only at heart, then you would not feel any kind of agitation inside of you. You would use that anger like this, and the moment that child is behaving, that same minute that anger is out of your voice, and now you go back to your normal tone of voice. There is no agitation or anger in your mind, or there's no feeling of any kind of anxiety that anger causes. If you are able to if you're in that state of mind, then it's a perfectly valid use of anger, because you're using it as a tool at the time that is appropriate, in the manner that is appropriate for the welfare of the child. But more often than not, you will realize that that anger has actually consumed you. You're actually feeling the anger. You will feel the difference in your voice, in your heart rate, in your the way you are breathing. You're actually feeling the anger. If you're feeling the anger, you've lost the battle. If you're feeling the anger, it means that in that moment there was a desire that was there, that if I'm telling my child to do something, then he should follow my orders. He should follow what I'm telling him, because I know the best. This is a desire that is couched in the sense of duty. That is how subtle we have to get. Right? And you have to start recognizing those, how many such desires creep into our relationships. Yeah? Okay. And lastly, the Gyan Agni, right? We have to go back to the chapter topic. Chapter topic is Gyan Karma Sannyas Yoga. So it is important. These are theories, right? This theory is the knowledge, the Gyan. We are reading theory. Ultimately, the action, the practical that we do on our daily life will convert this theory into practical knowledge of how this really, really works. Like when I practically experience anger, and I practically experience upset, and I practically experience, giving that up, surrendering to the Lord, and then I feel the weight lift off me. Now I have converted that theory into a practical knowledge, and I know exactly how it feels to be in this situation and that situation. Once I've understood it at that level, then it becomes so much easier for me to practice it the next time. We have to get that experiential knowledge, and that when that experiential knowledge comes, then it becomes real Gyan. And when that Gyan has come into our life to to become like that light bulb that takes away all ignorance, that's when we are able to get sannyas from the karma. Then we get sannyas from the karma. That means the karma becomes a karma. It becomes easy for us to do karma for a karma. That is the topic of the chapter itself. And that's where we are getting to. Kakuli, will you read with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
The attainment of such an aspirant is outlined below.
Tyaktva karma phala sangam.
Tatva karma phala sangham.
Nitya trapto nirashrayah.
Nitya trapto nirashraya.
Karmanyabhi pravratto api.
Karmanya
Bhi.
vipravrito.
Karmanyabhi
Karmanyabhi
pravratto api.
pravrapto api.
Yeah. Naiva kinchit karoti saha.
Naivat kinchit karoti saha.
Tyaktva is tyag karke, by giving up. Okay. Karma phala sangam. Karma और उनके फल में आसक्ति. So the expectations of fruit of your action, or attachment to the fruit of your action. So the first two words would mean giving up attachment to the fruit of your action. Okay. Nitya trapto, is all परमात्मा में नित्य तृप्त रहता है, is always satisfied in the self, capital S self, or in the Lord. निराश्रयः आश्रय से रहित हो गया है, one who has given up any dependence on the material world. कर्मण्य कर्मण्यभि प्रवृत्तो अपि. Okay, कर्मण्य is कर्मों में, in actions. अभि प्रवृत्तो अपि, अपि means भी, अभि प्रवृत्तो is भली भांति बरतता हुआ, while doing all actions. So while doing properly. Abhi pravratto is while doing properly. Naiva doesn't. Kinchit karoti. Kinchit is kuch, anything. Karoti, karta, does. Saha is that person. Wo, that person.
One who gives up expectation of enjoyments from the outcome of actions and who is ever contented, having snapped all dependence on the world, even though fully conscious of being engaged in actions, remain unaffected, as if nothing has been done, as if nothing had been done. Action of a karma yogi, inaction in reality. A person who gives up all expectation of enjoyment in the actions or their outcome at once becomes free of any disturbance of mind, whatever the consequences may be.
So
Placed in
this line is key to understand, right? A person who gives up all expectation will automatically become free of any disturbance of in your mind. This is a very powerful what do you say, a very powerful thing to be aware of. Every time you feel disturbed, agitated, you should know that the reason you feel that is because of some expectation you have. It's not because of the world outside. You can blame the world outside because it feels better, but that's not the truth. The truth is you had an expectation or a desire. That is the starting point of you feeling disturbed. Now here, we understand it in this way because we can look back at all the times that you feel disturbed. You can think about it and you'll be like, yeah, it starts with some expectation. Now, this is how powerful karma yogi as a concept is, that if you give up your expectation, this disturbance that we feel, this agitation of the mind, will automatically disappear. Because you no longer live in the past. Aise kaise ho gaya? How did this happen? He did this to me. You no longer live in the future, where I wish this will come. I wish I will achieve this. I wish they will praise me, or whatever it is, right? Your mind automatically has nothing to oscillate towards. And that's the starting point of why we need to be karma yogis. Because if we don't practice this sense of giving up expectation, this yagya of giving our action towards divinity, we will never be in a place to control the mind or redirect the mind, because the mind will constantly oscillate.
And maximum number of expectations are with the people we spend the most time with. So we have a lot of expectations from our family members. And that is, of course, it's a difficult one to get to, but you can start by giving up expectations with people you're not spending too much time with. It's easier to do that. And then slowly bring it into your own family life. And you will start to see how many expectations we have built up over a period of time with our parents, our siblings, our spouses, our children. And we have to give those up. We have to give up the expectations. And now giving up expectations does not mean that you will not get people to do what they need to do. Okay. You will, there's always going to be division of labor. There is certain things that your spouse is expected to do. You will set your own things to do. If, for example, somebody is not doing what they are supposed to do, then you should remind them. It is your duty to remind them. You have to ask what is stopping them from doing their duty, and try and fulfill and help them in whatever way you can to get them to do their stuff. Maybe they are forgetting it again and again. Can you set some kind of reminder? And more importantly, look at yourself and ask yourself what you can do differently. So as an example, I if things kind of get messy, it starts to make me upset. It starts to I get agitated when I see a lot of things that are messy. And at some stage, I think I have had enough number of fights with Abhinav about this. Like, you're leaving towel here, you pick up things, you never keep them back. For example, he took out something from the top shelf today, and he left that shelf open. And I saw it, and I was like, I will leave it until he comes back, and I will show it to him that he has not closed it. And this is something that is just one small example of avyavasthita, or just messiness in general. It just increases the chaos in the house, and there is no end to it. If we don't keep closing things out as we start them, then there's no end to the mess. There's no way we can ever keep it under control, right? I have got upset with him enough number of times, and he comes back and he tells me that you yourself are so messy and you keep telling me blah blah blah, right? And I did not know how to go about it. So what I used to do was, I would just, at some stage, I would lose my cool, like enough is enough, and I'll spend my entire day, entire weekend just cleaning, like clean up this room, clean up that room. And it is always like after a few weeks, one room cleanup happens, and then before I get to the next room, this room has got messed up again. Okay. And that is still the state of our house. In the last few weeks, one of these days, and I've started doing Nam Jap on a very consistent basis again. So it helps keep me centered. So one of these days I came out and I saw, as usual, Abhinav has thrown the towel on the bed and he's left. Okay. I got really upset when I saw that. But when I picked it up, I said, okay, he has forgotten it, and I'm not going to tell him anything from now onwards. I will not tell anything to anybody else. I am messy enough, and that is the reflection that I have in the family around me. So I have to only correct myself. So that's my yagya at this point of time. Now Abhinav has come to know. He did not know about this. But basically, I said I have to change things around in myself and give up my expectations from anybody else. My actions at some point of time will somehow create a change in the house. So now, if I will show if there is something egregious that is being done without being upset, that's a big change in me. I don't get upset now. Otherwise, I would get really upset with Abhinav, like really upset, and express that upset with him. So now I'm like, okay, I will not get upset because there's no expectations that he will keep things clean. He will do what he needs to. I will help to clean up wherever I can. So that's a change that I'm implementing in myself and the expectations that I have. But there are so many layers to this that only when you start practicing, you start to recognize, oh, okay, I again got upset. Now what? I had given up this expectation. Then you realize, oh, there's a subtler expectation somewhere else. And these layers of the onion, you will start to uncover in your life only through practice, because it will be different for all of us in different ways. And they will come up in different situations. So
I would rather say to Lina that the change in you is actually only meant for you. Others take it or not is their choice, right? Exactly. They might want to take it. Might want to, value that. See, your kids are very young, so you still have a kind of a control. But beyond a point, there might be a say that we like this mess. It's only bothering you. So then you come to conclusion, actually, that's my observation, कि आप कर रहे हो अपने लिए कर रहे हो, that's it, full stop. Others want to take that trait, they take it, or they leave it. It's up to their choice. Absolutely,
Or the other way to look at it is Antkaran ki siddhi. He's giving you opportunity to look.
Sorry, I didn't get you, Anupama. I didn't get you.
I said Abhinav always mentions the Antkaran ki siddhi. He's giving you the opportunity to look within.
Absolutely.
It's very important
So
for journey and life.
For me, these are steps, that I have come to this, this is absolutely for me. It's bothering me. I do it and full stop. and then you come to tell lagta tha, okay, probably I want to be an example, but then that also is a very suksham expectation deep down that I probably am changing because I want people to change behind, but for what?
Okay.
That is not a right attitude to have. So I'm doing all of this not to change Abhinav. If he takes it, he takes it. If he doesn't take it, it's up to him. But I will do what I need to do to clean
Absolutely,
the place clean. Okay? And now I'll give you an example.
मतलब उससे अपने मन को बहुत शांति मिलती है. I don't know. I feel that's a very that's a state of mind which is very healthy for you. That's it. To put a full stop on that particular point, कि यार full stop. It's my life. Let me put the entire focus on me, 100% energy levels on changing myself, rather than leaking on various areas.
And that's the entire purpose, no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what I feel. Not that I'm able to change, but then I've come to that conclusion that the entire energy has to go in me.
Correct.
I have a question. I have a question. I mean, first of all, I've come back after maybe 5-6 weeks. So, and when Abhinav, I smiled because when Abhinav was speaking about parent and child relation, so I left my daughter in US right now, and we were parked there for a month, thinking that the weekend she's going to be. So we were 10 minutes away from the dorm, and she didn't come and stay with us even for the weekends because the choice was very clear that it is now friends and college and everything. It is not easy. So my husband told me that you can't be selfish. You have to leave her to lead her life. And I'm understanding. And this class was meant to be because everything I can relate now to my expectations. But what I want to know beyond this 1 hour, how do I really practice? Because this is, I think, the most difficult phase for any parent, especially when you have one child and when you come back home, and we are still in a hotel. So I don't know when I go back what happens at home, but you have no other fallback from someone being the center of your life to just waiting, whether you can call her now, it's like office, like, can I call her now? Will she be in class? Will she be disturbed? Like so much of detachment. I mean, I understand that Bhagwanji wants so much of detachment, but then, I mean, so much of pain to go through this detachment. And my question to the class is like, especially to you all, what practice you need to really detach yourself now? I mean, beyond this 1 hour, what do you need to do to get back to yourself? Like, it is, I mean, it's just, I'm not understanding what to do basically. Yeah. So
There's-
how does Geeta help me?
Yeah, so
Kumar's example.
no, so I think she's more asking how do you bring Gita into our daily life so that we remember these principles. And is there anybody else who'd like to share what they do to bring it out in their week so that they can bring out these principles? Because we've talked about it many times, but we'd love to hear if somebody else would like to share. Ha, Bhaskar.
Abhinav, this is my experience. I'll go back to what Gina was saying about it. I have 2 kids. One is in college and one is a 10th grader. And the same thing, I'm a kind of person that I'm kind of, I want things to be in the right place. Okay, I don't kind of the messy thing as she pointed out earlier. But what I have realized is that is causing a lot of internal friction. Okay, maybe it's how I look at it is I should come out of that. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do, and especially the past week, this sloka about the Bhagavad Gita about the bondage attachment. That how I'm implementing with my kids is there are so many things going on in our personal life. I'm telling them, okay, just make sure that you do your part. Okay, don't worry about the outcome, whether it is a failure or success, just forget about it. And that has reduced a lot of anxiousness in myself as well as with my kids. Okay, he's a college going kid, but still this year because of COVID he is going from home. There are a lot of things, as one of the participants said, when sometimes we have the intention, oh, why they are not calling us? Okay, what happened? Did he reach to the college? Did he go to class? Okay, it's a kind of lot of, we are overburdening ourselves with a lot of things that we should not. And to your point, in the past 1 week, or maybe once I joined this class, some of the easy slokas I used to chant. Okay, that helps me. And when I read this thing which says that, okay, feel free of any disturbance of mind, that is what I'm experiencing. So this is my story, but saying all these slokas, and it seems very difficult to get out of that attachment thing. But if you do that, you'll see a lot of difference in your life. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I think before I comment, anybody else would like to share what they do to bring the principles? And
I don't know. I would like to say that Kakuli totally can understand. Actually, I can feel the phase you're going through. But trust me, you should now actually introspect. That's actually by thanks to Gita कि देखो मोह क्या चीज है. आपको भगवान एक परीक्षा दे रहा है, देखो मोह क्या है और वो किस रूप में आपके सामने आ रहा है. तो आप उसको देखो, आप उसके डोंट ट्राई कि मैं इस पेन से कैसे जल्दी से निकल आऊं. You can't. It's a phase. When you lose somebody, I mean, now this is a separation, right? We have to feel the pain and feel it, happily feel it and come out of it. Find an alternate, उसको replace करो. आप उससे छूट नहीं सकते हो किसी भी तकलीफ से. उसको आप महसूस करो और उससे निकलने मतलब मैं कैसे see it, feel it, and probably I think that's how slowly you will see, once you see, you recognize, वो आपको खुद ही एक रास्ता खुद बनाएगा. That's what I feel. I don't know whether it's a right answer or not, but this is no pain which you can say यार कैसे मैं निकल जाऊँ 1 मिनट में. हो नहीं सकता. You have to go through this. Yeah. And thankfully you have Gita in your hand, so God has already given you something bigger than what you are feeling.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, just a couple of points I want to add, Abhinav. One, kid is just through us. We are not owners of the kid. Okay, they are a separate soul. They decide what they want to do, how they want to do it. So we are just the facilitators. If you are taking the mentorship role, you will be able to handle what is the right thing instead of what is right for me, what is so be very protective, right? Like we will try to avoid a lot of things. So they will have to learn by mistakes. They will have to learn by mistakes. You will have to do a mentor beyond a point. You cannot be a parent when the kid is grown up to a college level. Maybe till the schools, early schools, preschools level and so on, you can be a parent. Wherein they don't know a lot of know-hows. After a point, if you try to be parenting, they will distance. It will become too difficult. Even it will add more distancing when you are trying to do parenting for a teenager and above. So you will have to give them their space, right? Like you will have to become a mentor till they will have to choose. That is the way to handle that. Second point that I wanted to touch upon. So before marriage, everyone would want to change the world. After that, you will decide only to change the TV remote. That's a maximum that can happen, right? Because you will become wiser. You will change yourself, right? Before that, everyone will have that passion. Okay, I'm going to change the world. All that kind of thing. After that, this is the only thing. So you can change yourself. You cannot change anybody else. Period. Right? That's the second point. Third thing, I think yours is like arranged marriage, right? Yours and Abhinav's is arranged marriage. Is that right? No? Luckily, it is like arranged marriage only. I did a bit of analysis of like how the arranged marriage works. They always do a matching, like in the astro matching and so on, they say, right? Like I was thinking why, like most of the arranged marriage I see directly opposite. A husband and wife will be absolutely opposite, right? So if you are like a clean freak, wife is messy. If it is otherwise, it's going to be otherwise. It's going to be exactly the God gives an opportunity to feel the fullness, right? Like the arranged marriage is a concept, which means match means it is not match. So that is the complete thing. If there is a 9th aspect, it is matching. That is what astrologer says. I want to go give him a beating. Like, how can you tell that 9 matches? There is zero matches in that. That's the way I was thinking initially. Right? But then like I started analyzing after that, it is actually your life is getting full-fledged. You are seeing the other part, which you yourself, you by an individual, you are not. So those are the aspects that you are covering when you are having that kind of a wedding relationship. It's a great choice, by the way. Like it is 9 matches only for both of you.
So what you said is very, very interesting. I'll start with the last part first.
I just want to say one thing, just a small, I'm sorry for interrupting. All my life, I used to always feel this is a problem. I have to find a solution. और वो कभी solution नहीं मिलता है. I've changed my state of mind thinking that there's no problem. Actually, there's no problem. So the moment you see there's no problem, then you're suddenly at ease. Kakuli, I don't know if you can understand that part, solution नहीं मिलेगा कभी भी किसी भी चीज का, वो होता भी नहीं है. I mean, and then you say यार ये problem है ही नहीं, तो आपको लगेगा कि कि वो तो मेरी ही बनाई हुई एक सृष्टि है मन की, जिसका मैंने प्रॉब्लम बनाया और मैं सॉल्यूशन ढूंढ रही हूँ. वो तो है ही नहीं प्रॉब्लम एक्चुअली. And I think all the more what we fight, the God gives you more, if I'm a very like a cleanliness freak, God may give you that lot of pariksha in front of me. Karo fight, niklo usse bahar. ऐसे कोई घर में जैसे in spiritual language कर्म प्राणी देंगे, you have to fight it out. You have no way. So ठीक है, God's will. I don't know. I'm sorry, I spoke too much.
Very beautifully shared, Rita. Very beautiful. I'm loving the sharing that's coming out. There's so many nuggets of wisdom from every one of you. It's amazing. I'm actually taking notes.
So 2-3 things I'd like to comment on. Your last point before I forget it, Vijay. Opposites attract. That's a very famous phrase, right? And Tuna and I have discussed this in length as well. We genuinely believe couples, opposites attract. And today, when you were sharing, it clicked in me. Opposites attract because it's an opportunity for me to clean my antakaran. If there is no friction, then I don't have a chance to become a better version of myself. When you pray to God for patience, He cannot give you patience. He can only give you opportunities to practice patience. Right? So the opposites attract and that creates that friction because it will give me a chance to be a better version of myself. So that was fantastic. I thank you for sharing that. Kakoli, coming to your state of mind, right? I think Vijay also touched upon this, that there is a poem by Khalil Gibran. I will share that in the group. And he's written, the book is called The Prophet, but he's written a poem on children. And I'm sure Kavita has heard this in our class on Saturday all the time, because a lot of our Saturday class people are going through a similar experience, right? But the crux of that poem is the children don't belong to you. They never did. They come through you, but not from you. Each child that comes from Bhagwanji, has that individualized soul. Each child has their own sanskars, their natural predispositions, their natural strengths, and their destiny that they have to overcome and experience in this life. Our job is to raise them in such a way that they are fully prepared for it. But end of the day, we are not taking care of them. Bhagwanji is. So you want to protect your child, and that's natural because you've done it for 20 years. The only way to protect is by connecting with Bhagwanji. Bhagwanji will make everything available for that person to experience whatever they have to in this life and give them the courage to face it. Right? Because their journey will move on to a future you and I will never see. Their challenges in a workplace will be stuff that you and I cannot predict. We cannot train them for it. Life will train them for it. Bhagwanji will make sure they're ready for those things. Right? So that, and this one easy way to do this is by surrendering yourself first to Bhagwanji. That my life is in your studentship and I surrender myself to you, and I pray that you take care of our entire family and do what is best for them. So you wanted to say something?
And I think I just wanted to, there are things that everybody's talked about in this, right? The sharing, Vijay's sharing, I think Abhinav has already elaborated upon, and I think that Khalil Gibran's poem is going to be very good. Going back to what Rita said, experience this and don't bottle it up, right? And it will take time to completely live the experience. So, but use your knowledge and your intellect to know that all this pain is in the sense objects, in the sense body. As long as we have this body, and as long as we are interacting with the world, the rag, the dvesh, the pain, the sorrow, the happiness, we will experience them. If you put your hand in fire, you will experience pain, right? That will always be the case. So experience it. You are in this world, you have this attachment, like you will experience it and let it flow. Let it flow, face it, experience it. What does it feel like? In fact, meditate on what is the quality of your pain here. What are you really experiencing? Don't resist it. Resistance will make sure that it continues to stay in your life, right? Experiencing it, acknowledging it, be one with it and say, yes, I am grateful for this experience to Bhagwanji, will help you get over it much faster. So don't resist it. Be happy that you're experiencing it. You're experiencing it because you have a daughter, because you have that love with her. That is why you're experiencing it. And there is beauty even in that. Right? You have this pain because your daughter has got admission in a good college and you have the wherewithal to be able to support her education. Right? So that is why you're experiencing this pain. So use that intellect to understand that, first of all, this experience of pain is only in the body level. It has to be expected. It will not go away. Be grateful for that pain as well, because it has come for all these other reasons. So be grateful that you have the situation, and then connect to Lord through it. Everything as a means of yoga. Arjun's confusion was also a part of yoga, right? Arjun Vishad Yoga. So this moment, this pain, if you can use this to connect to the Lord, then it's a beautiful gift by him to you, so that your connection to Lord becomes even stronger. Right?
Okay.
So another thing for being grateful to him. Now, because you're experiencing this pain and you want to alleviate yourself out of it, so now you will connect with Lord in a greater manner. Now, how will you connect with the Lord? One, besides the Saturday classes, do Namjap. Do a Namjap Anushtan. Okay, Anushtans are like, projects that we take on for short periods of time to do things in a much more intense manner than we would otherwise. So give yourself an Anushtan. For so many days, for such and such time, I want to do this type of Namjap. Do as per whatever appeals to you. You will know, when you think about it, you will know what you want to do. And if you don't know, ask Lord for guidance. And at some point of time over the next few days, it will become clear to you what you want to do. And that conviction will be there that, yes, this is exactly what I need to do. Okay. So do an Anushtan. Do an Anushtan of Namjap. Do an Anushtan of making sure that, okay, I have to do my Swadhyay. That's also an Anushtan, because we do not have that discipline at this stage. Right? So do it as an Anushtan. It will help. Like so many minutes at such and such time, I will do this reading. So read the Gita book, read its meaning, learn chapter 3 shlokas, do Namjap. Take this up as an Anushtan for 40 days or 60 days or 90 days, whatever. Start with something small. 40 days is a great starting point, because 40 days also it will. So this Anushtan will first of all help you connect to this knowledge of Bhagwanji on a daily basis. It will help you keep connected. It will bring Satogun back, so that even when you are experiencing the pain, that pain will itself become sweeter. And you will start to see how the value of this pain is to connect you to Lord. Right? And it will give you an opportunity to develop a new habit, which will see you through every single difficult moment of your life. So this pain will become that source of developing this habit, which may have not developed otherwise. I mean, it will definitely develop by the end of the 18 chapters, but
Okay.
this is a great initiation for you into it. So take
Okay.
an Anushtan.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's finish.
So Tuhina,
Yeah.
what is Nam Jap? What to do exactly?
So Namjap is the 16 syllable Namjap. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Each of those 16 syllables is Bhagwan Ji ka naam. So when you are taking naam, Bhagwan ka naam, then you are basically connecting to him. In Kali Yug, they say, na Bhagwan se bada Bhagwan ka naam. जब भगवान का आप नाम लेंगे, he will come running by you. Okay, so this is the naam jap, and it is different from generally what we call mantra chanting. When you do typically mantra chanting, I do not know too much about it, so I will just tell you the amount that I understand. Mantra jap is typically has certain, for it to actually benefit you in a proper manner, there are practices to be done in a specified manner. It's very regimented. You should do it like this in such and such manner at such and such time, etc. It's a rather regimented exercise. Naam jap is different from mantra chanting. Naam jap is just taking Bhagwan Ji ka naam and just remembering him. So there is a calculation. The calculation that says that, under normal circumstances, there are so many breaths that we take. Okay, so there's a proper calculation to it. And as per that calculation, if you do 16 naam japs, 16 malas, 16 mala is in one mala has 108 beads, right? If you do 16 malas a day, you have pretty much taken one naam of Bhagwan Ji for every single breath you have taken on that particular day. So every single breath of yours has been stamped with Bhagwan Ji ka naam. Okay, you do it long enough, it is itself a great way to cleanse your antakaran, because you keep doing it. It's like sometimes you don't even have to understand. It's like if somebody's told you just go fill up a vessel of water and just keep getting it back, that water will cleanse the pot itself, right? So it is that kind of an exercise. Then there was a question that was asked, which was saying, okay, I am doing this for every single breath of my life right now. What happens to all the breaths that I've taken so far, for which I have not, which is not stand with God's love, right? So it is that if you go beyond 16 malas, then you start to stamp your previous breaths also with his name. So it's a faster way of cleansing yourself. And we have been told, Maya ji always says that you should try and reach a goal of 64 malas a day. So 64 malas a day. And like that is approximately, if you use a counter like this, that works out to about 7,000, just shade under 7,000, but you can like try and get to 7,000 counts. So that means one mala is 108 counts, right? So like that. But start with this, just 16 malas. It's not difficult. When you start to do it, use a counter instead of a mala, because then you can do it anywhere and everywhere. The good thing about Naam Jap is you do not have to necessarily do it. You don't have to sit in a place to do it. You don't have to do one whole mala in one go. You do not have to think, oh, I've not brushed my teeth, I've not taken a bath. You can, even Bhagwan Ji has given this thing, even when you're unclean, you can do it. So I hold this all the time, sleeping, eating, breathing, walking, going wherever. You are in a cab, going to some place. In the meantime, you can do some Naam Japs. You're in between meetings, you can do that. I do it even when I'm talking to other people. When they are talking to me, this goes on silently in the background. You get to that stage slowly where your actions are in the sansar, but your man and your antakaran is with Bhagwan Ji. So it goes on continuously in the background. But that happens with a little bit of practice, and that practice is not too much. It gets there very, very fast.
Okay.
So we will do an Anushtan. Actually, it will start, this called Namjap Anushtan. We do it. It will start sometime in October or November, and it goes on for a period of 6 months until about April. So when that happens, we will let you know a lot more about it. But the idea of that Anushtan is to not to just stop during that Anushtan after that time. You have to bring it into your life, and it comes naturally. You don't have to fight it. As long as you do your Namjap, your Swadhyay, you just do, follow what is being done. Slowly, these things will come without pain. Like we've been doing this for almost 4 years now, and initially would do only during that time, but the number of mahallas I did slowly increased, started with 2, then it increased to whatever, 8, 10, 16. And now it's 4 years, and now I've actually started doing it outside of the Anushthan as well. So it comes by itself. It will perpetuate your life slowly. We'll continue to read. We'll just finish this shloka.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have birthday wishes and introduction.
Okay. Placed in any set of circumstances, such a person immediately determines what would be the duty and acts to discharge it without thought of any pleasure to be derived from it. Working assiduously in this manner leads to freedom from all worries and tensions, as if nothing has been done.
So then this is a very important question, and this is a question that comes often. When it is black and white and when it is very clear, it becomes easy for us to follow our duty, right? The question comes when it seems like there are 2 or 3 different circumstances and all of them seem like our duty. What should I do? There are competing sense of duties, right? The answer, no one will be able to give you an answer. The only person who can answer that question is yourself, because your duty is dependent on desh, kal, karma, and parasthiti, right? So your situation at that moment, you will know. And how will you know? You will know it instantly, as it says. Placed in any set of circumstances, such a person immediately determines what would be his duty and acts to discharge it. How will you know? The cleaner your antakaran becomes, the clearer you hear his voice, the clearer your understanding of what your duty is in a moment is. You will know instantly. Nobody has to tell you, and that knowledge will not come from outside, it emanates from inside. And for us to reach that stage, we have to do these 4 things, 4 S's. So we have to do swadhyay, we have to do satsang, we have to act on sadachar. Sadachar is something that comes, and eventually then we'll get to the point where we start to do seva. Seva is when you're doing your duty. That is the moment when you're actually doing seva of the world. So we'll stop here.
So before we do birthday greetings for Rashi, we have a new person in the class, and I missed seeing her in the beginning. But Tanvi, you still there? Hi, Tanvi.
Hi everyone.
Welcome to the class. Welcome to the class. Would you like to quickly introduce yourself and talk about what brought you to the journey?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Tanvi. I've lived in Singapore here for the last 7 years. I have 2 small kids, and I'm a banker. And I think the last few years have been really difficult, like managing kids and managing, the job and doing justice to everything. So I'm sort of I just want to gravitate towards a life philosophy which makes it easier to cope with the challenges of life and to be more at peace with yourself. And that is why I thought that I would start these classes.
Well, welcome. It's great to have you. And we look forward to sharing the journey with you. You heard enough examples today of how all of us are in the exact same boat. So we look forward to getting to know you better.
Thank you. I look forward to it as well.
All right. Okay. So we have birthday greetings now for Rashi, whose birthday it was last week. Does everybody have the birthday greetings? Have you guys started in the group or not yet?
It's fine.
Okay. Rashi, just make sure there's a little bit of a cup of rice. Perfect. Prepared. I like it.
Who wants to do birthday greetings today? Anybody would like to volunteer?
It's okay. I think.
From my side, right?
No, yes, for you, but I want to see. Otherwise, we are the ones who
Okay.
things. I want to get others to do it. So maybe Kavita or Rita.
Okay, we can both do together, Kavita.
Yes. No, partly, because otherwise, the Zoom creates a lag.
It's okay. Let them try.
But it creates a lag. Right?
Okay, I'll say the first paragraph, then you follow the second one, Kavita. Is it okay? Okay. It's whose birthday? I forgot that.
Rashi.
Rashis. Okay, yes.
So the first birthday greeting, right? You can start and it has to be repeated, right? Twam. So then, Kavita can go after that, repeat it. And then the first song you can sing and the second song Kavita can sing. Shall we
So,
try it that way?
The first is like, Janmadinamidam, right?
Yes. And
Sagar
then,
mein
then it's Sagar mein. Yes.
So how about this? We lead the reading and they follow us.
No, let them do it. They can do it. They are pros. They can totally do it.
Okay, I'll start happy. Okay, how do we start, Mohammed? We are pros, yes, but also no.
Okay, let's do it this way. So you will do Hey Rashi, and then Kavita will follow that because we have to say it 2 times, right? So whatever you say, she follows. And then Janmadinamidam, Rita, you sing, and then Sagar mein ek leher uthi, Kavita, you
No,
sing.
I'll say Sagar mein ek leher uthi.
Okay, I am good with Janmadinamidam.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So we can start.
Hey Rashi.
Hey Rashi.
Hey Rashi.
Is that right?
Yes.
Tuam.
Bam.
Yashasvi.
Yashasvi.
Tejasvi.
Ojasvi.
Ojasvi. Chiranjeevi.
Kirtiman.
Kirtiman.
Buddhiman.
Buddhiman.
Shraddhavan.
Shraddhavan.
Bhaktiman.
Bhaktiman.
Satviki Buddhi.
Satviki Buddhi.
Satviki Dhriti.
Satviki Dhriti.
Satviki Bhav.
Satviki Bhav.
Nishkam Karma Yogi Bhava.
Nishkam Karma Yogi Bhava.
Janmadinamidam Ai Priya Sake. Janmadinamidam Ai Priya Sake. Shantanotu te sarvadamudam. Pratayamahe Bhavashatayushi. Pratayamahe Bhavashatayushi. Ishvara sada tvam cha rakshatu. Ishvara sada tvam cha rakshatu. Punya karmana kirtimarjaya. Punya karmana kirtimarjaya. Jivanam tava bhavatu satakam. Jivanam tava bhavatu satakam. Bhavatu satakam. Bhavatu satakam.
सागर में एक लहर उठी तेरे नाम की, तुझे मुबारक खुशियां आत्मज्ञान की, तुझको है आनंद में जाकर मिल जाना, तू है सुंदर फूल इस संसार की, तू है सुंदर फूल इस संसार की. हैप्पी बर्थडे टू यू. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna to you. May Radha Rani bless you. May Radha Rani bless you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna to you. Rashi.
Oh, thank you so much. Such a precious moment. Seriously, it's amazing.
Happy birthday, Rashi.
Thank you so
Happy birthday,
much. Thank you
Rashi.
so
Happy
much.
blessed birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rashi.
Happy birthday, Rashi.
Thank you so
birthday,
much,
Rashi.
guys.
So next week,
Happy birthday, Rashi.
the next
Thank
week
you so
also we have
much.
a couple of birthdays. So if
Wow.
anyone would like to volunteer for the birthday greeting, just let us know.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll put that out in the roster as well.
I think this our entire class, like I think 80% of us are born in the second half of the year. So almost now will be a birthday
Actually, August and September. Yeah, August and September is a big. There is a lot of birthdays. Yeah.
all the way to December. Like all of us are born.
Yeah.
Tuhina,
There is a reason.
birthday is in June, right? Tuhina?
I'm July.
Hers was July.
July born.
So, Abhinav's
November. I'm November.
November?
Scorpio.
November 3rd. November 3rd.
Oh,
Why?
Hey, it's close to Diwali, yeah?
Yeah. I was at.
He was born on Choti Diwali.
Oh, great. So you're close to that. Okay.
Hey, thank you, Abhinav, Tulina, for
Thank
giving
you
us
so much.
Thank you, everyone.
And
and
all
Thank you
Abhinav
so
and
much.
Tulina's
Thank you.
Kakuli